that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine. I don't really like this angle, but we're gonna go with this for today. I don't have too much to say. Today we are talking about, I mean, I bought this separately, but this honestly feels like a short novella, short story. But The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. There's nothing much to spoil here, in terms of plot, or really characterization. It is mostly, I would say, the experience of reading it, more so than the actual content. It's very simple. It's a very old man, thinking 70s, 80s, old. 50s at the earliest, but I don't think so. Or sorry, I mean like 60s, but there's no way he's in his fit. This is an older man. And he's been a fisherman all of his life. His wife at this point has passed away. As far as we're aware, he doesn't have any kids, as far as the book tells us. It's just him and the sea and a small boy that isn't his, but they have a rapport, you know. But one day, you know, he's been kind of failing to catch fish for the past like couple months, and the parents of the child think he's rather unlucky, so they, you know, tell the child, you need to go to work with people that are going to actually get results. And then the old man's like, yeah, I mean, you got to listen to your parents. So he goes out himself and he catches a really big fish. He doesn't see it, but he knows he's caught something big. And so he follows it out. 2 days go forward. He hasn't slept. He's gaining after this fish, but the fish won't fully submit. So it's a test of wills between this fish and this man. And there's a lot of symbolism in there. I mean, you even have a moment where the fishing stuff cuts his hands. I think it even says explicitly in there, like, in a way that felt like nails being jammed into your hand, much like Christ, except that if you watch films or you listen to any popular media, they always depict it as right here, but historically speaking, it would be right here, because if you put a nail right here, it's just going to tear through, and they're going to fall off the cross and defeat the purpose. So you have to do it right on the vein, which is going to really hurt more than the hand would. So it can keep you upright, you know, as you're trying to breathe on a huge cross. And there's another point where he puts something wooden, I forget what, on his back, and he has to carry it. So very much that imagery. Why is that exactly used for this old man? I'd have to read it a few more times. I've only read it once. But it's the perseverance of the old man. He has patience. He's older, which I work in a retirement home facility. Let me tell you, patience does not come with age. Patience comes with wisdom. Because I'll tell you right now, there are elderly people that do not have any patience. Let me tell you, they do not. Some of them do not. Some of them do. Some of them are very, very patient with us. Others need things now. So patience does not come with age. It comes with the proper wisdom to acquire such patience. But this old man does have it. And so he persists after the fish. And at some point he does succeed, but he doesn't get to savor that victory because sharks attack. And he makes it out alive, he's fine, and the story kind of ends, but he didn't properly get to capture the fish and get that glory. But he's going to go back out and continue to fish because that is his lot in life, that is his purpose, that is his direction, that is what he does. And the story just kind of ends. It's rather mundane in the grand scheme of things, but the beauty of the story really comes in the prose, which are not particularly flowery, but they're very, it's Hemingway. At least from what I gather from his previous story, he's very purposeful in everything he puts out there. There's a lot of subtle character stuff. I mean, I know I said this wasn't really about character work, and it's not, but there is subtle stuff there throughout that early on kind of endeared me to the old man. Named Santiago, by the way. He's also a big fan of baseball. What's the guy's name? I forget. But there's things there to endear you to him, and it's mostly about the perseverance. The need to capture this fish, and the respect he also has for the fish. It's really interesting, and there's plenty of deep dives on the internet you could look for people that are much smarter than me. I think this will require a few more readings on my part to fully grasp it. Now, that would probably be the smart thing to do for videos, to be like intellectually like smart about it. But I just really didn't want to sit through and read this a second or third time. Sure, it's short, so I could have, but I'm a lazy bastard, and I didn't. That being said, though, I see what it's going for. I did listen to some videos, so I get the general gist of the symbolism, the meanings. I'm not going to regurgitate it here or act as if I'm, that I came upon all this on my own accord. I didn't. I recognized the symbolism as I went into it, but I needed further elaboration to fully appreciate this story. But even still, if you're like me and you're not a particular intellectual, and you just read the story, and then as most of us in 2025, or by the time you're watching this, 2026, often do, we go on YouTube and we look at, analysis or review or whatever. If you're like me, you'll enjoy the story just fine on its own, and you'll further dive into further context and elaboration. There's even one, funnily, by PragerU. Did I watch it? Yes. Did I find some things eyebrow-raising? Yes. But that's just because it's Michael Knowles. So, PragerU, we're not going to get into that discussion, but it's funny. But I enjoyed the story. Is it my favorite so far that I've only read 2 things of Hemingway, but I'll say no, it's definitely not as good as A Farewell to Arms, but it's also much shorter, so it doesn't necessarily need to be. But I'd say it's a pretty solid work by Hemingway. Again, don't go in really expecting much, because I can completely understand why some people find it boring, because really like nothing happens, like at all. But it's not really. I mean, stuff happens, but nothing. It's all rather mundane. Even when sharks are coming at him, like it's not like this huge thing. But just kind of living in it, for those 90 pages or whatever they are. I think if you're in the right headspace, you can really vibe with it. So those are my ramble thoughts on spoiler wise in the book. I don't have many spoilers anyway, but if you don't want any, there's the door. See you in a moment. Okay. The old man is named Santiago, and we meet the boy. The boy loves him. However, as I said, after weeks of no results, his parents tell him to leave. But yet he still helps him. He gets him coffee and stuff and insists on helping because he loves the old man. We also learn, again, a small bit of characterization within the inside the fisherman, the old man's home, is pictures of Jesus and Mary. But it explicitly says that his wife put them up, implying that he is not religious, or not as religious as his wife was. But his wife had also passed away. So while he kept up the religious imagery that his wife put up, he took down the photos of his wife because it made him feel lonely. So I thought that was a nice little character stuff right there. We also learn but he kind of passes out, falls asleep, and the child, or was it the child who gets the blanket? Somebody gets a blanket, and it's a veteran's blanket. So you also learn that if you can hear all the coughing, I hope my mother's not dying, but I can hear my mother clearly coughing and dying, so that's a little concerning. But anyway, um, the veteran army blanket. Again, it's not really called attention to, but clearly he is a veteran. And she's still dying. That's awesome. Good times all around. She chose to die now of all time. She didn't have any control over that. I'm just being silly. But here are my two excerpts that I wanted to share with all of you, which is that age is my alarm clock. The old man said, "Why do old men wake up so early? Is it to have one day longer? Or one longer day?" Which I really liked. And no one should be alone in their old age, he thought. But it's unavoidable. Remember, no matter how little you want to, that you must eat in the morning. I mostly just wanted that opening part where no one should be alone in their old age, he thought, but it's unavoidable. Really enjoyed that. And I really have nothing else to go off of. As I said, there are deeper analyses of this book. I'm not going to pretend, I watched the videos, but I'm not going to repeat what they've said. So, because I don't really have nothing new to add. I think I hear a lot of people read this when they're in school. I don't know if it's the right time to do so. Maybe for some of them, but I can also see why many people would find this boring. I think you have to be in the right headspace and also be able to empathize with someone who may be older than you. As someone who constantly thinks about my mortality, the fact that, theoretically, I'll live to 80 or 90, right? But there's no concrete proof of that. We have no idea. I could get hit by a car tomorrow. I could have died days ago before this video uploaded. You would have no idea. You just don't know. Right? So, as you get older, and if you're introspective like me in your 20s, then you just kind of recognize, man, life is going by fast. High school was almost 7 years ago now. I graduated 2019. And it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but it has. And before you know it, I'll be 30. And before you know it, I'll be 40. And before you know it, I'll be 50. And before you know it, my time will come. So as someone who thinks about that a lot, I'm able to empathize with the old man who gets up super early in the morning so his day can be a little bit longer before he inevitably has no more days to his name. And, as someone who hasn't found love yet, he found his forever, and then she passed away first. So now he's alone. And that can get lonely. And imagine your old age, you definitely don't want to be alone. You want to be surrounded by people. But not everybody has the luxury. So I think I was able to empathize with the old man despite not being that age, which helped me get into his life a little bit easier. But it really is just a day in the life of Santiago, ultimately, and of his perseverance. And I don't know. It was weirdly peaceful, if that makes sense. I don't know what I'm saying. But I did enjoy it. Anyway, I return to fantasy with Von Woodcroft's books 2 and 3 of the Sundered Nation. So I'll see you all during that. And afterwards, we'll see what happens with more classical or whatever works. But thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.